Welcome back, fellow agents. It is I, your amazingly awesome agent of paleontology, X7, the host of Xenorama, the podcast of monsters and heroes, heroes and monsters, and dinosaurs and music. This is a very special episode for me, which is why we're getting a video of it as well as an audio recording, because I'm going to review this book, which is called The Wonderful Egg by Dala Vipkar, reprinted by Flying Eye Books. It happens to be the very first dinosaur book your humble agent has ever read or was read to, way back in 1970, when I wasn't even in school yet. But my sainted mother took me to the Kaiser Library and found this book, and for some reason thought, I think it'd be a good idea to get this for little Seven here. She might have thought I'd grow out of it. I did not. So I read it a few times, even back here in the library here in Fossil Bed, they had a copy of it. I remember the cover being darker, but I probably was not. We're going to go through it, a little bit here and there and talk about Dala Vipkar herself, the artist and writer, who wrote many things and drew many things and did soft sculptures and then murals. She was born way back in 1912 and 1917, November 12th, in Windsor, Vermont. Her maiden name was Zorak. I don't know what that would be. Dala of Zorak. Ipkar was her married name. She married her husband in 1936 until 2003 when he passed away. Dala herself passed away in 2017 at age 99. So she lived nearly 100 years. I would have loved to see what she thought of what dinosaurs turned into after she'd written this book. The book itself was written in 1958 and published by Doubleday, for school kids. And it's for a young audience, I would say. And Dala continued to write books until, what does it say in here? Oops, it's back here. Pardon me. She still paints on her farm in Maine. Now, this book was republished in 2014, and I did not know it because I had been erroneously looking for this book under the wrong title, which was The First Egg, when it's The Wonderful Egg. Now, why I thought it was The First Egg, there is an egg. Spoiler alert, the book's about an egg. This is the slipcover here, which gives you a little blurb about the book. And here you've got most of the dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals that show up, except, even a Dimetrodon, which is not in the book at all. Spoiler alert. So, like I said, we're going to go through this a bit page by page here, but it was reprinted in 2014 by Flying Eye. And fortunately, I'd been looking for it as the first egg, first dinosaur book. I couldn't say first dinosaur, but there isn't a book called The First Egg about dinosaurs. There are books called The First Egg, but they're not about dinosaurs. So thankfully, the vintage dinosaur pictures, dinosaur and other prehistoric monsters or animals, on Facebook, that group there, which I belong to, published this cover. And I'm like, I think that's it. Did a little research, found a copy of it. I got it yesterday. It's very short. I think it's only like 48 or 50 pages. Not long at all. We're not going to go through every page, but I will show you this. This is the very first. And you open it up and you see this lovely, my guess is that she used either pastels or watercolor. I lean toward pastels, but I'm not 100% sure. I will ask an artist friend of mine in the future. So there's the reprint. I don't know if that's a Doubleday at the time or not. But there's a lovely Rhamphorhynchus there and a bunch of eggs. Like it's, it looks like it's Easter, doesn't it? Or a Yoster, if you will. Here's our Indica and the dedication for Bobby, who wanted dinosaur pictures, which I believe is her son Robert, who helped them reprint the book. So, smart man, smart young kid. And This here is a stegosaurus and probably a brontosaurus. Stegosaurus standing on its back legs gives me the impression that if it had radioactive breath, it could be Godzilla. It also kind of looks like a frog. So there you go, frog. Agent Frog will appreciate that. And now let's get into this here. So right away, she's claiming that it was more than 100 million years ago, and now we know it was a little further back than that. But just this trees, and here's the swamp where she puts creatures from the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous. You can tell which ones. Triceratops and Brontosaurus did not live together, and the Rhamphorhynchus might have lived with the Plesiosaur. Who knows? But look at those colors; they're just vibrant, and the art I think, is charming. A lot of people will say that don't want to read these older books because the science is a bit off. But so here's our MacGuffin, the egg, the wonderful egg. Now, when your humble agent did the podcast the first time and forgot to hit the record button, pro tip: always hit the record button, make sure it's going. I gave away a spoiler, but we're going to wait till the end of the book, like I had to when I was 5 years old, to find out what this wonderful egg has inside of it. Hint: it is and it isn't what you expect. So here's her brontosaurus. It's just lovely, standing in the water because that's what they thought they did, and now we know they don't. But just a gorgeous picture, a right amount of colors for contrast. Our next picture is, of course, the Triceratops horridus, who did not live with a brontosaurus. I think this is part of the reason, as a young agent, I thought, because I was not even in grade school yet, I thought that all the dinosaurs lived at the same time. I don't remember when I figured out that was not right, but it took longer than it should have, and it doesn't matter if I admit it now. So Triceratops wasn't an egg of his, and here is our Stegosaurus, the state fossil here in Fossil Bed, Colorado. Lovely. We can call him George. It's because we've reviewed the shy. He doesn't look very shy. He just looks. All of her dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals look very happy. But she gives a little information about them in each blurb. Here's our Pteranodon longiceps, which is just gorgeous and pretty accurate overall. So, the claws and the beak, the toothless beak, toothless mouth, toothless wing is what it meant. My favorite flying reptile. Looks almost a lot like Turu from Johnny Quest. Now I'm going to read her blurb here. This is the Ornithomimus, which I called Struthiomimus as well. Little pronated hands. But let me read this. I'm going to flip it over here. And so here we go. Sibilance. Maybe it was an let me try that again. Maybe it was an Ornithomimus egg. Ornithomimus, the ostrich dinosaur, was timid, and he could run very fast. He had a beak like a bird's, and a long neck, and he walked on his hind legs. He almost looked like a long-tailed, featherless ostrich. So even though they didn't know it about birds and dinosaurs being related, tail straight out here, you could look at it and say, okay, those, that, and they probably had feathers, not like the plumage of an ostrich, but she was on the right track. Now, my beloved Elasmosaurus. I'm pretty sure this is one of the reasons why I love this seagoing reptile so much, like a snake drawn through a turtle. Gets everything right about that. Cretaceous sea monster. Look at that. Their necks were probably not that agile, which is all right. And they did not swim in deep water because of the Tylosaurus. That would show up. Tylosaurus being the T-Rex of the sea at the time. So here we go. A T-Rex, and they're saying he or she's 50 feet long, got a pronated hand still, but nice color. Looks a little too happy to be about to eat this little bitty tiny, looks like a Protoceratops, which also did not exist with the Tyrannosaurus, or even in the same area. It would be Tarbosaurus batar if they were in the same time frame. Here's a Trachodon, also known as a Hadrosaurus, the duck-billed dinosaur. They thought it floated around. It had thousands of teeth in its little mouth, or its big mouth. Did not swim in the water. I mean, it might have gone in the water, but didn't really. And two more hadrosaurs, or the Corythosaurus and the Parasaurolophilus. Unfortunately, Lilith, there is no Pachy picture in this book because at that point in time, Pachys were only known by their skull, their thick butt-heading skull. They had not saved the day in the Jurassic World movie, had they? So, and now we go to the T-Rex of the sea, the Tylosaurus, which was a good. What does she say? I don't even know how long she said it was. But both the Tylosaurus and the Elasmosaurus, as well as the Ichthyosaurs, all had live birth. They were not able to crawl on land, couldn't drop their eggs there. They were not turtles or seals, for that matter. Seals didn't have eggs, but they didn't exist yet. Birds did at this time. So here is what in the pronunciation guide in the back of the book is called an ankylosaurus. As we all know by listening to the great I Know Dino podcast, Garrett calls them ankylosaurus because they're his favorite dinosaur. And, they're little bitty tanks there. Well, not little bitty, but I prefer ankylosaurus now because I think it just sounds cooler. And we're getting to the denouement here. This is the final page to find out what is this new wonderful egg. Because it wasn't a dinosaur egg at all. Or was it? So are you ready to find out what it really was? It was... Oh! Yes, look at this beautiful, gorgeous colored painting of a weird-looking Archaeopteryx, which is not a bird, even though Let's read this momentarily. And when it hatched into a baby bird, the first baby bird in the whole world. And the baby bird grew up to be a beautiful bird with feathers. This first beautiful bird that ever sang a song high in the treetops of the green world of long, long ago. This is a very stylized Rhamphorhynchus, which, as we know now, is a dinosaur, like a raptor. But in the fossils, and there were plenty, well, not plenty, but lots of, by 1958, everyone knew that this is not what the bird looked like. It had a mouthful of teeth. So it was not a bird. I mean, there was a long debate over, was it the missing link between birds and dinosaurs? Or no, dinosaurs are birds. This is they were non-avian dinosaurs. This is an avian dinosaur. So we don't know if it flew or just glid. Well, but it was not a bird as we know it, as like a songbird or anything. It probably did not sing like this, which is fine. It doesn't matter. I mean, you get to the end of the book, and it's at that point in time they were not sure what the Archaeopteryx was. So there you have it. And then you turn the page next, you get the size comparison. I think she says the Tylosaurus is 30 feet. We know that it was much bigger than that. And they give the T-Rex as 50, but most of the sizes are right. Look at these two tiny little semi-birds. One that was a pterosaur and one that was a dinosaur. Or is a dinosaur, not. And then you have my lovely pteranodon. So there you go. And then finally, on the next page over, you get this pronunciation guide, which is why I said Ankylosaurus for years, and a lovely picture of the Rhamphorhynchus, who could fly, and the Archaeopteryx, who may or may not have been able to fly, eating berries in a tree. Still, they both had teeth, and they both had long tails. So there you have it. The rest of the book, there's a little blurb here about Dala Vipcar, and then another reprint of this with the Dimetrodon in it, which was a synapsid. Was not, there's two. That might have been an Edaphosaurus and a Dimetrodon. They were shown a lot. But so there you have it. My first dinosaur book. It's a wonderful, I think it's lovely. And I'm just glad to find it, and I'm glad to own it and put it in my collection next to, and thankfully, like Flying Eye Books reprinted it, like the Purple Cow Press that did the Stegosaurus books. Yes, and I do have the second one, which will be reviewed sometime in the near future. That's not a spoiler alert. It's just going to happen. So there you have it, agents. My first dinosaur book that I ever was, but I'm sure Agent M, MF, FM, whatever you want to call her, my sainted mother read to me at the tender age of 5. Once again, I'm quite sure she also thought that that phase would pass, but it's all right if you're wrong. And this is a lovely shirt too. Thanks, Lilith. And until our next assignment, agents, this is X7. Our next assignment will be tomorrow night, where we review It Came from Beneath the Sea, which is about a giant octopus. It's on Sven tonight, but I've seen it many times even before that. So, until then, this is X7 signing off.